Hello, everybody. I'm Marius Roberts. And for the last, 15 years, I've had probably the best job in the world. I get to drive all the new cars that come to market, and I get to call that hard work. What is cool about that is it puts me in a pretty unique position to be able to at least provide some advice to you, the consumer out there, when it comes to your purchasing decisions. Not just what car to buy, but potential pitfalls, things to look out for when it comes to the purchasing, the owning, decision-making process as well. So we've got a whole bunch of topics we're going to try and cover in as short a time as possible. I hope you enjoy the insights, and of course, feel free to interact with us if you've got any comments, suggestions, or you'd like us to answer some specific questions. We'd be more than willing to do that for you guys as well. So let's have a look now at the things that the car brochure is not going to tell you. And this is something I get really passionate about because there are so many pitfalls. And I don't think it's that people are trying to trip you up. I just think the onus is on each of us to be more educated and be aware of all of our buying and purchasing options that are available to us. And obviously be aware of things that could potentially trip us up. And the first thing I'm going to start with is services and warranties. I know I get into massive debates with my mates around this because let me draw the picture here. South Africa is one of the only countries in the world that actually sells a service plan with the car. You go to Europe, anywhere else in the world, you buy a car, this is how much it costs. And if you want to take a service plan, you then pay extra for that. Now that has changed in South Africa, thanks to the Consumer Protection Act. You are no longer allowed to bundle deals. So when you are buying a car, that list price of the car should be the base price of the car, less the service plan. But most consumers don't realize that. They just think, put it all together, I'm happy, I'm paying, I've got service plan. Why? Because the service plan to you is seen as peace of mind. No, it's not. Peace of mind is your warranty. And that warranty comes standard from the factory. No one can take that away from you. So what I always suggest that people do is look at the value of those service plans and think of it in terms of this. Do you go to your doctor and say, hey, doc, here is money up front for the next 5 years for visits that I may be doing or will be doing once a year. But yeah, you take the money up front and you keep it. Of course, you're never going to do that. Yet that is exactly what you do when you purchase your car. You take that service plan, value X, you put it into the purchase price, and that gets added onto your finance deal. Why don't you rather take that money, put it into your own interest-bearing account so that you benefit from that money down the line? That makes so much sense. You don't lose peace of mind because you still have the warranty. The service is literally there for you when you go once a year for your service, whether it be a minor or a major. Now, things have changed big time last year in South Africa with the right to repair. There hasn't been much happening in the industry as a result, and I think the manufacturers, in particular the dealerships, are quite happy about this because we thought this was going to change the way the business works, and it hasn't. I think that's because most of you don't understand what that means. You now no longer, when you purchase a new car from a dealership, need to service that car at that particular dealership. As long as you keep that car serviced at a reputable dealership, they'll give you a list, no problem with that. Now, why this is important is that I want you, before you buy a car, to go and ask the dealer what is the base price for a minor service and a major service, and then do the same thing with a reputable aftermarket service center. Compare those two together, because I can tell you now there is money that is there for you to be saving on big time. Another one of my favorites, ticking the option box. You see a car advertised from this price and you get super excited because you're like, that is the car that I want. And when you get to the dealership and you do your test drive, what happens? That car is spec'd to the hilt. It's got everything, all the things you want. Our press cars that we always get, spec'd to the hilt, sometimes 300,000 rands worth of options on that particular vehicle. So when I'm reviewing the car, I want to review the base car because that tells me a lot about how good this car really is. The problem is that from price, that base model Good luck trying to buy that, because you just don't get it. And most of those vehicles literally now today would be the steering wheel and the 4 tires. So there is this mentality and this environment in South Africa where you start ticking the option lists. The manufacturers and the dealers have realized there is some pressure, so they've started bundling those deals into packs, so you can get your light pack or your style pack or whatever it might be, and that gives you 4 or 5 elements that are grouped together, and you pay 30 or 40,000 rand for it. Now, this is my big concern, and something that I don't think many of you are aware of. When you look at selling your car down the line, the book value of your car is based on the base price of the car. So whatever you spend on extras, say goodbye. That's gone. And the only person that is going to benefit from this, actually there are 2 people, is going to be the second-hand car salesman that's going to be happily trading that car and saying thank you very much, and someone like me who's going to buy that car second-hand, because there'll be real value for me in that car, because it's got all the things that I want but that I couldn't afford to buy in a brand new car. So please be aware of that when you look at it. Those little options that you tick, very easily you're going to be spending 60 to 150,000 rand. And what makes matters even worse, that amount is added onto that finance deal, so you're actually paying even more for it with the interest. It's crazy. It really is. And you need to now consider, I know in a little while we're going to be chatting about like Chinese brands, and if you look at them, and we can certainly throw the French and the Koreans into this, their cars come incredibly well spec'd as standard cars. So when you do sell those cars down the line at the end of your term, the book value is pretty close to what that car is actually worth. Whereas for us that have gone and taken a car that's 300,000 rand, but thrown 70,000 rands worth of extras in, we're going to be far away from what that book value is when we do sell the car down the line. So these are certainly very, very important things to remember. And can I just throw in balloon payments? I've always been, and maybe I'm old school, I've always been of the belief, if there's a car that you want, go and price that car without a deposit, kind of full interest, and what is that going to be? Can I afford it or can't I? The minute you start slapping on 20% into a balloon payment to make it affordable so you can drive home with that car, you're looking for problems. Lease deals work really, really well for consumers if they know exactly the mileage that they're doing. So in a business environment, I would say, sure, there are some lease deals with balloon payments that might work for you. But you need to be so careful on those lease deals, because they are based on buyback. Everyone's talking about buybacks now. Those buybacks are listed and closely linked to kilometers. The minute you go over those kilometers, you are in for a pain of trouble here, because you literally are going to be paying big time on that. So for me, a balloon payment really on a private deal is something you need to steer away from. And I know it's difficult, because you want the car and it's all about how good it's going to make you feel and look, and you really want that deal. But think down the line. We've been through chaos the last 2 years. We've seen interest rates at the highest they've been since, I think, probably 2009. And it looks like there's going to be more of those sort of rate increases down the line. So just be aware of this, because it's all exciting now, but in a year's time, when it's unaffordable and you can't hang on to that car, you're going to get yourself into big problems. And with that balloon payment, getting out of it is going to be really, really difficult. So please consider that. And something I want to throw into this as well, which I find quite fascinating in South Africa, is that when you buy a car, you've got to have insurance. But there's no one that follows up with you to make sure that you maintain that insurance. And I see this all the time. People can't afford the car. The first thing they cancel is their insurance. What happens when you have an accident? That car gets written off. You are still committed to have to pay back that full price on that car. So you're going to be sitting without a car and still having to pay the bank back. That is really something that you don't want to find yourself in. So please, I'll ask you, that is something not to do, is cancel your insurance in the car, just to kind of make it more affordable. I hope these little tips and things that I've discussed now will give you some insight and help you making better informed decisions when it comes to purchasing cars.